This is Cinema.
And this is Johannes.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Trudvang Legends. This is a new cooperative campaign-driven board game from CMON Games.
It plays from 1 to 4 players in about 120 minutes per adventure.
Yeah, so this is going to be like a first impressions review because we have only played 3 scenarios of the game. We wanted to do more, but yes, we have played 3 of them, and now we're going to talk.
Understand.
And now we're going to talk about it. So just we have not played the whole thing. So if you can't but yeah. You will. The things we think now will probably not change. We're going to talk more about that at the end.
Yep.
So very brief overview, and also this is a campaign game. So I took some pictures the first time we played it. You will see now at the beginning of the video. But then this is going to be like another non-spoiler review, so that there won't be any pictures or stuff of things to come during the game. Trudvang Legends is a cooperative game. You are gonna be playing different characters, and basically what you're gonna do is that you're gonna play through scenarios. There might be story scenarios or side quests that you unlock during the game. What you are doing is basically moving around this world map. In the beginning of the game, there's only a couple of things going on each round. This might change. We don't know too much because we haven't played the whole thing. But what you're doing is moving from place to place. You will be fighting enemies or doing random events that will come up. And then you can interact with things. In the beginning of the game, there are some things, that cities on the map that you can interact with. And also there will be different points of interest that you will have to solve to continue on in the scenario. There's really not that much more to say about what you do in the game.
Very simple gameplay.
We're gonna go more into that gameplay loop. We're gonna go more into the combat and all of that. But before we do all of that, let's start where we always start, which is
artwork and components. I think in this game it's very basic. I think it's normal quality cards because you have some cards in the game.
Not very good.
Yeah, they could be better. You shuffle some of them a lot, so some wear and tear should be. I would sleeve them if I would play it more.
Yeah.
The miniatures are of nice quality, and the map looks fine, but nothing special here.
No, I like the artwork, like on the box, for example.
Yeah.
I enjoy the artwork here. I enjoy the artwork, all of this, but there's not been that much artwork in the game so far.
In the storybook, is it a lot of artwork there?
Some here and there, like there are in some storybooks, but not too much. Briefly, let's just touch on the rulebook and is there player rates? There's no player rates. I don't really feel like you need them.
No.
You have the turn order on the storyboard, and then the combat is pretty simple to remember how it works.
I would say like the board you have with different rules are kind of your player aid.
That is true, and it's a changing player aid, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
The rulebook is kind of lacking. It doesn't really answer a lot of the questions we had. There was like, oh, how does this card work? Like, there's not even an explanation for the cards that you start the game with, which, like, I understand there's not maybe a whole index of how every single card in the game works, but the few cards that you begin the game with or the items that the beginning characters have, there should be like some explanation of how everything works. The keywords aren't that perfectly explained. There is a keyword site page, which is nice, but it's not fantastic. It made us be able to play the game, and sometimes when you play this kind of co-op games, we just decide, like, is this the thing that makes more sense? Let's play that way, and if it feels utterly unbalanced, maybe let's think about something else.
Yeah.
That is kind of like the way.
Lacking some details that would specify the questions that we would have.
And that annoys me more in competitive games than in co-op games, so it's not like that huge of a deal. We got into the game, the gameplay is very simple, so basically the first time we played we didn't really need to check the rules almost at all, and after the first play we only checked it for like a keyword or something like that.
Yeah.
Before we go into the gameplay, let's talk about the thing that you probably know already, which is the fact that this game was supposed to come out like 2 years ago. But after the Kickstarter campaign, they said like, this game isn't the way we want it to be, and we want to redesign it before we send it to backers.
Which I like that a company or designers or like that the crew we can make a decision like that.
Yeah.
The product that we have in mind is different that the one that I'm making. We want to improve this. I like when you take a step back and make it better. Have the goal to do that.
Yeah, and I enjoy that they did that. I don't care. I don't care if the game is 2 years after the fact that we should have gotten it. I don't care about any of that. I would rather have a good game 2 years after instead of having the bad game.
Yeah.
And I really wonder how this game looked the first time around.
Yeah.
Because now we have played this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this fantastic piece of garbage.
Game.
Oh, I meant game. Sorry. Fantastic piece of game. Okay, let's talk about talking about the gameplay loop.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, you have this world map. It kind of feels like if you have played Journeys in Middle-earth, like some of the maps there are like the journeying through the world map, except there's an app that shows you more and more of the map and it can change out and be interesting. Here you have a static map. One thing you probably don't know, so I'm going to say it now as well. And it's not a spoiler because it is specified in the rulebook. But if you're going to play this with somebody and you don't read the rulebook and you don't want to know anything, turn off the sound for like 20 seconds. There are some adventures that's going to have like an adventure map.
Okay.
So there are a couple of them in the box. I think 3 of them, which you can then move around on another map than the big map.
Cool.
But most of the game you're going to move around on this one map. And one of the things that they said about this game is that, but the world is going to be ever changing because there is basically sleeves on almost many of the locations. So you can sleeve different cards. And we have only played 3 scenarios, so huge things haven't happened. But the game feels kind of like the game can remember some things that you choose to do or not to do in the story.
Yeah.
Which is a positive thing.
Yeah, I agree.
It hasn't been like huge so far, but it's one of the few positive things I have to say, so I wanted to get that out before we go into all of the other stuff.
Yes.
So what do you do in the game? You will, most of the time, look at your point of interest board and see, we have to go there. That is 2 spaces over there. So this round we're going to move this because that's closer. Is there enemies there? Yes. Let's fight them. Or no, if there's no enemies, you have to draw an event. So you draw the event, which is usually a skill test, which is very boring. Super boring. And you do that skill test, and then there's nothing.
How does the skill test work?
Basically, you have this little bag with little bag with runes in it, and to do a skill test, you draw 7 of them, and let's say you need to have like 3 agility. And agility, I think, is the leaf, like the earth thing. I don't remember. The green thing. It's like a leaf.
A leaf.
It's a leaf. And if you draw 3 of them, woohoo, you did it. And if you didn't, you lost the skill test.
Yeah.
So not a very interesting system. But then, if after you've done that, or you did a combat, we're going to talk more about combat soon, then if there's nothing to do there,
you wait. No,
then you just
go to
do it again.
Yeah.
So you move, you do combat or events, and then when there's no more enemies there and you're at the point of interest, you get to read stuff in the book. We're going to talk more about the story also, but that
keep it to the
is
gameplay
basically what you do.
That's what you do.
Are there interesting decisions in where to move?
No.
You could spend, no spoilers here again because it's a setup. Some of the cities in the beginning gives you runes to make your bag look different. So you could spend an hour going around doing random events and build up your bag, but that would be extremely boring.
Yeah, because the character that you start with have some traits that are better for some runes than more of the green runes and the red runes, for example, and less of the others. Because what kind of character you are dictates what kind of runes or tokens you have in your bag.
Little bag.
Yes. So let's say I'm a bard, then I have.
But I'm the bard.
You're the bard. Then you have more of the charisma tokens like the wind, and less of, let's say, wisdom and the strength.
You only have one of them.
Yeah, and that gives you a higher chance of drawing the wind for
because they have more of
combat
them.
and tests. Yeah.
And so you could basically go around and fill up your bag with those, but you have to discard them at the end of the scenario, so that would be very boring. So I'm like, oh, I'm leveling up to just de-level
Yeah.
again.
Sometimes we have been in a situation where this space is a little closer, but we have to move through more enemies to get there. And then we have to think for 2 seconds and then do the decision instead.
Okay, so the gameplay loop so far is extremely boring.
Yeah.
There are some probably the phases of the turn might change up.
Yeah.
I would be extremely surprised if it suddenly is extremely interesting and fun. And then again, please don't make your game horrible and boring in the beginning. If you think like, oh, but if you play it 50 hours, it will be very fun. That's not the way to play a game.
A boring gameplay loop will certainly be redeemed if the combat system is amazing, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And is it awesome in this game?
No.
It's horrible.
Yes.
It's probably, let's talk about like all of the main reasons first, and then I have like the last reason I found out online because I didn't think about it, which makes me hate it so much.
Okay, so what you do?
How does it work?
Yeah.
Let us know.
All of the players do this simultaneously. You draw 4 of these cards, which has slots for the runes. So, for example, let's say a card gives me 3 attack. Then I have to get like a fire and a wind to actually activate that card. So I draw 3 runes at a time, and there's also some runes that I can't use for anything. That is just like bad runes, and that is completely random. So I draw 3 at a time, and then I basically say, oh, I want to stop now, either because I get like bad things if I fill up with the bad runes, or if I don't have space for them.
You have a mistrack, basically.
Yeah. Or if I am super lucky and I get to fill up my cards, which very rarely happen.
So yeah, the first time we played, I was like, first half time we played, I was like, oh, this is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Felt like you had some decisions to do. You're like, oh, now you're pushing, and then you have the mistrack. If you get just some of them, you get positive things. If you get more of them, you get negative things.
Felt nice.
And then you can do the abilities. And then the enemies attack you, which is fine. You might block, you may take some damage, you might die. Let's talk about that soon. And then if you don't, then you can attack them back. And then if you don't win, that's the combat's over. So you then have to start the combat again. So you do this thing again. And about 80% of the game is flipping these cards and drawing 3 of these runes. So if you are a super big fan of drawing things from a bag and placing them randomly on things, and there's no thinking. It's not, oh, I got this now. I want to attack, so I'm going to do that.
Place it there.
Yeah. There's really no thinking.
Yeah.
And you might say, oh, but maybe you get to upgrade these cards. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You get to upgrade them to the same card, just with some better stats.
Yeah.
So basically, oh no, I have an attack 3 and I upgrade it to attack 4. Still exactly the same card. No change, no more interesting, just the same. So, what happens if you die?
Yeah, well...
Is there anything you want to say before that?
No.
No. Okay, so what happens if you die?
Oh, yeah. Just like, what happened?
If you die?
Yeah, if you die. Then you reset your health to 6
points.
No matter what you had before.
Yeah.
And then you join from like the next round. So if there's more monsters, they will then attack your co-player. And you also get like a weird card that matches in
if you
with
don't
your
have one
combat
from before, so you can only have one.
You can only have one, and that also needs some runes to match. And the only way you get rid of that card if you luckily are able to fill up that card and kill a monster in the same round.
Yeah.
That is what happens when you die.
So, I thought this was boring, and then I read a little topic on Board Game Geek which made me realize something, which makes this game almost not a game.
Yeah.
You can't lose. There's literally no way for you to lose the scenario or to lose a combat, which means that at the beginning of combat you could just take away all the enemies and say we won.
Yeah.
It just...
And a weird card. You have to get a weird card.
Yeah, because you might have died.
Yeah.
And you end up with like 6 lives. Because if both characters die, it's not like, oh, then you lose. No. Then you just get 6 life and you start at the beginning of the next round. Which means there's no way to lose combat. Of course, as I said, this might change. But if there's going to be better mechanisms in your game, don't make them horrible at the beginning of the game, because then we won't get to the good parts. I was like, oh, it's going to be fun because in the beginning it's so easy. It's not even easy. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Like the combat system is nothing.
It's nothing.
No, but it is really one of the worst systems I have ever seen.
Well, yeah.
It's not interesting. There's no consequence to whatever you do. I could basically just randomly flip everything up in the air and say booply boo, and that would be as much tactical as the thing we actually do in the game. I don't understand how this has gotten, and I really wonder how this game was before they redesigned it.
Yeah.
Because we love cooperative storytelling games.
Yes, we do.
We love Heavy Euros, and we love cooperative storytelling games, but there's need to be something good in there, and the gameplay can be fine. Like, for example, Sleeping Gods. I didn't love the combat there, but there is a puzzle. There is something to do. There's consequence.
But what
as
happens?
you said, let's do another fantastic, like, to the next setting. The gameplay can be boring. The combat can be horrible, but surely the story is amazing, right?
No, it isn't. Well,
I can't do this. Like,
so far.
Again, if you're suddenly supposed to make your story fantastic, don't make it the most boring, repetitive, like, there's nothing.
Yeah. This video is very negative, but it's also a bottle of frustration from our part because we have played 3 stories and that it's too many.
And I was like, oh, let's play one more. And you're like, oh, please, can we please don't do it?
I don't wanna. Yeah, but first off, the character you are is just like, the bard is funny.
Who am I?
Done.
Who, like, in Descent.
Yeah.
The new Descent game didn't have the most amazing story, but I care about the characters. I care about who I am.
Yeah.
I don't want to play an RPG where I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the bard. He's a fat man who doesn't wear clothing. Like, that is kind of like, that's the thing. That's the only thing I know about the bard. I was like, okay, I'm this guy.
He can talk. Well, that's one thing. And then the main story, no spoilers. I will not spoil. It's very like, oh, I've heard this before, and oh, this isn't very exciting. And so far, you make some choices, but it's like, and I can see it's very cool because one thing that I like the concept of is that in this scenario you have these points of interest and you have this grid kind of, which if you do this, then new points of interest come and you see like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't done, so it could be very different.
It sounded interesting.
But in reality, I don't feel like, oh, this choice is very important and I wonder what happens next. It's just like very meh. It's like all the people you meet are meh. And
it's the most generic fantasy story I have seen.
Since,
like, I said something to a friend on the phone yesterday, and I'm gonna say it now. The story in this game makes the story in Gloomhaven looks like the most fantastic book ever made. Like, I love Gloomhaven, but it's not like the epic story that I like about it. But this game make that story seems like a high-end fantasy novel. Like, the story here is the most, so far, as we said, is the
just 3 scenarios.
But then again, don't make it horrible.
You need a hook. Like,
the hook is...
We talked about this before. I'm not gonna read your book if I don't like the first chapter. Like, I'm gonna put it away. I don't...
And I would have played...
I want to be hooked from the get-go.
I would have played 2 chapters if we didn't gonna make this video and then get rid of the game. So we played the 3rd time because we were doing this video, and I was thinking of doing a 4th time. If it hadn't been for this video, I would have played once, maybe 2 times, to give it that, like, okay, well, let's see if there's actually something here. Yeah. And then be like, there's nothing here.
No.
And I would never touch this game with a pole again. Like, this is...
Oh, I touched it, sorry.
This is truly
truly
a bad game. I don't know what, like, I was sitting thinking, what can I say that is positive about the game?
Oh, I got something.
Oh, that's very good of you. You found something.
Yeah, I found something. It's very simple. It's to the point where it's too simple though. But like a lot of the campaign co-op story games we have like ether fields yeah, all of that stuff. It's very like big rule books. It's a lot to many rules and so much rules and so much stuff and so long. This seems like a very yeah, it's very easy, but I wouldn't play it because it's bad.
I would rather like watch the news, and I don't do that.
That's high praise.
I would rather go out and mow the lawn.
Yeah.
I would rather do that. I
think they've gotten it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, this might be the most
this
ranty,
is very ranty
and
Alice.
most negative.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, but like I feel all of these things. And I don't recommend this game to anybody. We're basically into final thoughts.
Yeah.
Do not play this game.
No.
Like I don't see one reason to play it when you have all of the other fantastic games like this. Like Role Player Adventures, also a pretty simple game.
Yeah, but so good.
The puzzle there is maybe too simple. It's not very hard, but the characters are amazing. Like we talked about, like I don't know who anybody is here.
Yeah.
And it's half a year. So last year we played Role Player Adventures, and I could on the top of my head say like this character, this character, this character, this character, all of the characters that we got to know through the campaign. Here it's like it's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's really. And it's not that I had like high expectations because I didn't know we were even going to get the game. But it's one of the worst games I have played in a long time. I am going to rate this game a 3.5.
Yeah.
I think it's way under average. I feel like they should have spent 2 more years trying to make it actually good. I don't recommend it. It's my final thought, so I get to speak as long as I want to.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but that's it.
3
I'm
hours
done.
later.
It's not a good game.
Yeah.
Don't play it. Don't buy it. Just don't.
I agree. I feel bad when saying bad things about the game because I want games to be good.
Yeah.
And rating a game below average is hard because we rate so few games below average, and I don't want to do it.
We usually try to play games we think we will like.
We try to play good games. And the first time we played this, I was just like, oh, this is nice. And the second time was just like, oh, it's just this. and a little part of me still like hopes that the designer or the company will be like, oh, I'm sorry, we sent you the old game from like 2 years ago. This is our bad. Because it's one thing is that is uninteresting. It's too simple. It's just like rinse and repeat all the time, and that might be better. Like and maybe some people will like that better than us, but some things like the not dying part, that is broken and you should fix it. What happened there? And just like, yeah, it borders to a bad game. 3.5 is, that's where it's at.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot already. I'm not going to continue doing it. It's very disappointed. Like, and the reason we jumped right, like we played it the same day we got it because I love these kind of co-op games.
Yeah.
And I always want to play when I get a new one of those. So it was a huge disappointment, and then the game just didn't work in any really good way.
Yeah.
So
if you like the game, tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts about it. But yeah, that's the end of the video, I think.
That's the end of the video. If you're still here and you still like us and you want to see more videos, what can you do?
You can subscribe.
Yes.
It's a button down there. It will make us
subscribe.
happy. Like this. What you also can do, you can support us on Patreon. How do you do that?
You go to patreon.com/boardgamingramblings and you can support us on there.
Yeah.
And that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Cinema.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.